All right, good evening and welcome to the October 16th, 2024 Mercer Island Arts Council regular hybrid meeting. The time is now 5:30. I am Daniel Becker, Arts Council Vice Chair. Chair Mitchell is unavailable tonight. Tonight's hybrid meeting is in person at the Mercer Island Community and Event Center, and we are also using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. The Zoom video of this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel later this week. Other public audience members may be listening to the meeting by telephone or online. Additionally, the city has opened up the community center to provide public space for viewing and participating in the meeting. Welcome to all, and thank you for joining us tonight. Councilors, please turn your microphones on for the roll call, and if you're participating remotely, please have your cameras on. Will staff please call the roll?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chair Mitchell, Councilor Scone,
Here.
Councilor Harrington,
Here.
Councilor Gibson,
Here.
Councilor Young, Councilor Rajagopal, Vice Chair Becker.
Here.
Thank you.
Our first item of business is public appearances. This is the opportunity for anyone to speak to the Arts Council about any item except items requiring a public hearing, any quasi judicial matters or campaign related matters. Staff, has anyone signed up for appearances?
We have none tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Well, then we will move on to the first item on our agenda, which is the staff liaison report and planning schedule update. Welcome Katie Herzog, Recreation Supervisor and Staff Liaison.
All right, thank you, and welcome to the October 16th, 2024 regular Arts Council meeting. So we're going to start off by talking about the family movie night that we held just a few weeks ago. We had 124 people come to the community center and watch Kung Fu Panda 4. As you can see from that top photo, families brought blankets and low back chairs. We supplied popcorn and treats. People played in the game room and hung out in the lobby. So it was a really fun night. We want to thank the Mercer Island Martial Arts for sponsoring this event. And our next family movie night will be on December 13th as part of our family holiday party. If you have any good ideas for our holiday movie, don't be shy and email us at our MI Parks email address, and we will take your vote into consideration. On September 22nd, we were fortunate to partner with the Mercer Island Chinese Association to bring a mid-autumn festival to the community center. This had a very excellent turnout. They are estimating over 3,000 people attended between the 10 and 2 timeframe. They had lanterns, mooncakes, performances, a variety of games and activities for the entire family, and just overall a really great, successful event. Nothing's happening. At all. I'm completely frozen. Let's stop sharing. I'll try again. Maybe I should have had Ryan drive this one. There we go. No? I don't know what's going on.
What file is it
In the working docs. I have a lot more. No, not a lot. I'll try one more time just to. Are you up there?
That's you.
Here we go. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right. So the Myval Holiday Show is up next in our community center gallery. The show will be from October 21st through December 13th, with the opening reception on October 24th from 5 to 7. So come and join for any of those dates or the opening reception. This is the show where all of their holiday goods are for sale. So it's kind of fun because it's beyond paintings, arts and crafts, and different things. We have some new recreation programs. through partnerships. So Emerald Ballet Theater has started a pre-ballet class on Friday afternoons. They started on October 4th, and this session will run through November 22nd. We're really excited to have this group back. And Myval has 2 upcoming art classes, urban sketching on October 19th and techniques with ice dyeing on October 26th. You can register at myval.org/classes for their 2 art classes. We are seeking public input on Clark and Groveland Beach. The city has launched a digital survey to collect information about how the community currently uses both of those locations. Responses will be accepted until October 22nd, and then that input will be combined with other background analysis to inform the scope of the planning process for future improvements at these parks. If you haven't taken the survey yet, please visit the Let's Talk page, which is that mercerisland.gov/CGMP, and provide your input before October 22nd. All right, Hallow Weekend is right around the corner. We have 2 great events coming up. We are hosting the Town Center Trick or Treating with the Chamber of Commerce. Friday, October 25th from 4 to 6. We have a lot of businesses that have signed up to participate this year. We have city departments that will be downtown as well. So really looking forward to our trick or treating in Town Center. And then 2 days later on Sunday, October 27th, our annual pumpkin walk will take place in Mercerdale. This is where we line the Mercerdale path with glowing pumpkins. And the success of this event definitely is from our community and businesses, organizations, arts council members, carving pumpkins for them to be part of this glowing walk. We have pumpkins in front of the community center that are ready to be taken home and carved, and then you can bring them back either the week of here or the day of to Mercerdale and have your pumpkin participate in the walk. So we look forward to getting everyone's pumpkins and putting on this event again this year. And then to wrap up the year, we have a whole slew of Illuminate MI December events, starting with our holiday tree lighting, which will be on December 5th, 5:30 at Mercerdale. The high school choir will be singing. Creation Dance Studio will be putting on some performances. John L. Scott will be providing a cocoa cart, and we will do our annual countdown to light the tree in Mercerdale Park. And the second image there has everything else that's going on in December. We have a parents' night out scheduled, a First Friday art walk. The 7th, the Holiday Makers Market will be here in the Community Center Gym, which is partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. The 13th is that family holiday party and movie night. The 15th, the Argosy Christmas Ship visits Luther Burbank Beach. And we are TBD on a date for the menorah lighting at Mercerdale Park, but it will most likely fall around the 26th or 27th. We're just waiting for confirmation on that date. So we have a lot of holiday events and a lot of holiday cheer to pass around. And our planning schedule is as follows. We will meet on November 18th for a special meeting to keep working on our 6-year spending plan. January 15th will be our first regular meeting of 2025. And we will have February 10th for another special meeting, which Sarah will talk about more, but that could be kind of wrapping up that 6-year spending plan. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Lots of cool events there. I know we're going to be participating in several of those, and I hope everybody else here and watching at home participates as well. The next item of regular business tonight is to review and consider approving the minutes from the July 17th, 2024 regular meeting and the September 16th, 2024 special meeting. Counselors, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion by Counselor Gibson and a second by Counselor Harrington. The counselors, please turn on your microphones, and will staff please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chair Mitchell, Counselor Rajagopal, Vice Chair Becker,
Approve.
Counselor Gibson,
Approve.
Counselor Young, Counselor Harrington,
Approve.
Counselor Scone.
Approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
All right, the motion passes and minutes are approved. The third item of regular business tonight is an update on downtown streetscapes, street name inlays. And for that, we welcome Sarah Bluvis, CIP Project Manager.
Good evening, Arts Council. Great to see you all. So included in your packet tonight was a summary as Exhibit 3 of the work that staff has done since our July meeting to explore some ideas for replacing the street name inlays that are currently being removed as part of town center construction to do some ADA upgrades. So I don't have a presentation for you tonight. I outlined pretty much everything that we've worked through over the past few months related to this project, just in terms of exploring what would be feasible from the city's perspective. We haven't done any outreach with community groups or anything like that yet. What I put in the staff report and what I'm hoping you all will agree to is to include a historic street names project in the project or public art project opportunities list that we're going to talk about start talking about in the next item. And that'll be the best vehicle for kind of continuing to explore a possibility of highlighting either historic street names or other history related to the town center in a future public art project. I'm happy to take some questions tonight about the information that was included in the staff report. And then we can also discuss this more at the special meeting in November, when we'll really dig in even more to the project opportunities list. So I'll keep it there. I wanted to keep it short tonight for this one, knowing that we had some other public art topics to discuss tonight, but happy to take any questions.
Does anybody have any questions on this one? I'll just ask one very short question. I'm not going to ask many things here, but one of the suggestions was, or the possibilities of ideas was putting signs on a nearby building, an adjacent building. I mean, is that actually feasible, given that the city doesn't, like, they're all private buildings, or we would have to just ask the building owners if they were okay with that? Is that how that would work?
Correct. That would look like some sort of partnership with those businesses. So if we're interested in doing something like that, it's certainly feasible to explore. I focused more on the projects that would be probably easier to implement through our standard city channels.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I think we're gonna conclude that one quickly here. If there's no other questions, and we will move on to the fourth item of regular business, which is the 6-year work plan for art in public places progress. And Sarah is gonna continue on with that one.
Okay, let me share my screen. All right, can you all see the presentation on your end?
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, so we are back tonight to continue our discussion of the development of a 6-year art in public places work plan. This is agenda item number 4 in the packet. And tonight we have really 3 goals. The first is to provide feedback on that framework for developing public art projects. Specifically, we're going to talk a little bit more about the goals, actions, and selection criteria that will be included in the plan for developing future projects. Then we will get into finally the public art project opportunities list. So tonight, since this is really kind of the first formal discussion of this component of the work plan, I'll give kind of a high-level reminder overview of what this list is meant to be and how it may be implemented through the plan. And then we, if you're interested, we can start digging into the specific project opportunities that were identified in Exhibit 2 of your packet. There were 18 ideas included. This is by no means an exhaustive list or a final list. This is just kind of the first list that we'll use as a starting point, and we can continue to add to and refine. And then after that discussion, we will just take a quick look ahead at the schedule and confirm the date and time for the next workshop. So let's start with the framework for developing public art projects. So since we met in September and at that time at our special workshop, we looked at potential goals, focused actions, and selection criteria. We took the feedback that the Arts Council provided and made some updates, and the updated materials were provided as Exhibit 1 in your packet. So the main updates that we've made since meeting with you all in September, we added a new goal related to diversity and refined the wording of the other goals. We adjusted the focused actions to be less repetitive and consolidated them to tie specifically to 3 categories: project opportunities, funding, and public engagement. And we added some new selection criteria for the aesthetic and connection categories based on the discussion that we had in September. So tonight, I'll just caveat this before we dig into all of these and start getting more feedback. I'm not necessarily looking for a motion to endorse the goals, actions, and selection criteria tonight. That's something we can certainly do at the next workshop. However, if you all feel like you are ready, we did a great job incorporating your feedback and you feel like it's well represented, I'm happy to take a motion to endorse tonight, but really just looking for feedback. So let's start with the goals for the Mercer Island Public Art Program. So these stayed primarily the same since September, aside from the addition of 1 new goal and a little bit of wordsmithing in another. So I will read through them quickly. Through public art, the Mercer Island Arts Council and city staff seek to spark curiosity where Mercer Island residents live, gather, and play. Cultivate community pride, civic engagement, high quality of life, and social connection. Share Mercer Island's rich history, natural beauty, and local creativity with island residents and visitors. This is the new one. Invite and encourage community members to share their own diverse experiences, backgrounds, and beliefs through art making. Provide accessible, inclusive, and safe public art experiences that make all feel welcome. And steward a public art collection that future generations can sustainably enjoy, engage with, and enhance. So I will pause there, and I am happy to take additional feedback. Both, of course, on the new goal, but anything else that you all have been thinking about since we last discussed this.
Yeah, I have a question. So the last bullet here says, steward a public art collection that future generations can sustainably enjoy, engage with, and enhance. So what does a sustainably enjoy mean exactly? Does that mean not destroy the artworks, or does that mean something relating to embracing the values of sustainability that other parts of the city have already embraced?
So that's a good question. I think this ties back to our conversation about sustainability and the use of the word sustainable in the last meeting. I think that this goal is really meant to capture and tie back to, I think, that idea of longevity. And to me, longevity, and in this case, sustainable means a whole host of things. So, it's sustainably enjoy, engage with, and enhance in the sense that I would think the city has the appropriate resources to be able to continue providing a public art collection for future generations. That means financial resources, potentially staff resources, but also, those broader goals related to sustainability. I think managing how we manage city operations going forward in general to make sure that as a city, we're still here for the community in the future. I'm happy to, take that specific word out. I feel like the use of future generations to me is broad enough that gets at the idea of making sure that we have a public art collection and a public art program that is here in the long run. So if you or others feel like the use of sustainably in kind of a broad way here, not really specifically tied to the climate action plan with in this specific goal or anything. It's a broader look at it. I'm happy to adjust the wording as long as you all are aligned with the idea of kind of the forward thinking, making sure the broader idea of making sure that there's a public art collection and a program for future generations.
Did that answer to your? Is that sufficient?
Yeah, I'm just curious whether anyone else had an opinion about whether or not this statement incorporates or embraces the overall value of sustainability to the community as a concept and a kind of a driving force behind policymaking. Or whether or not that's something that we even want to do.
Does anybody else want to jump in on that or any topics?
I think on this point, we've had many conversations about, a goal being to commission art pieces that are durable and have the staying power to last. So I think this bullet point, whether we keep or remove the word sustainably, achieves that and kind of has that goal. I think in terms of encouraging certain art pieces to invoke a message or conversation around the value of sustainability and in the more broader sense of climate and preservation and so on. I'm not sure that fits in the goals. It probably fits better within the selection criteria for the art pieces themselves. So.
Okay. And Suzanne, if at any point you want to jump in, you can, I can see on the screen. I just want you to know that if you feel free to just jump in, but I'm personally okay with the statement as it is. I mean, it's important to me that the pieces are created sustainably. I think we're saying more than just climate sustainability in this sentence. I mean, I think like Sarah said, this sentence is saying a number of things, and this is the difficulty with trying to distill goals down into a small number of bullet points, is that inevitably there's going to be we're not outlining every single possible thing that we might want to outline, and I'm personally okay with this, but I'd be fine whether we remove sustainably or I mean, I'd probably prefer to keep it as is, because I think if we take it out, then we're losing any sense of that. I don't think it's quite as strong as if we had a separate bullet point, but I don't think that we personally that we should add a ton of bullet points for this. Otherwise, you sort of lose the goals.
I accept
Great.
better to have the word sustainability than not, I guess.
I guess maybe a request I might have too and it doesn't need to happen right now. So, I know it's difficult to wordsmith on the fly, but I think Councilmember Harrington, it might be helpful for me if you were able to propose a goal that would maybe capture your thoughts or kind of that broader idea of what you're getting at or trying to get at in relation to sustainability. I think that I think I've made a couple passes and I don't think it's necessarily landed. And so if you are open to trying to, propose a goal related to sustainability that really achieves what you may specifically be hoping to achieve with a goal related to sustainability, I think that would be very helpful from my perspective. And it would be terrific to, share that at the workshop as well.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I mean, if you look at the 23-24 Arts and Culture Work Plan, there's a bullet point 1.3, which says maintain long-term perspectives on sustainability for arts and culture events and programming. So I think that's providing it's mentioning the sustainability manager So it's a broader conceptualization. So maybe that would be a possible starting point.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
I mean, this is in the context of me like being interested in climate action and sustainability. So I'm not like, I'm not disagreeing with that. I think that the challenge that we've had in the past is like, what are we actually advocating that we're changing? I mean, I get that like, and when I look at, I mean, I'm jumping ahead now in terms of like, what have we done on the work plan in the last 2 years as in response to that point? And it's like, we're working on using, compostable packaging and plates. And while I think that's a worthy, thing that the city should be doing, I don't know if that's worth putting as a goal overall from like an art standpoint of like what we're trying to do. I mean, I do think that, I mean, I appreciate, and we also haven't gotten to this on this particular agenda item, but under the projects that it specifically calls out that like when sourcing of materials, when we're looking at actual art pieces. And I say this in the context of like, what are we actually asking you staff to be doing here? And I want to be clear on like, what are we asking to do? And to me, it's like when we're sourcing pieces, I think that there is an opportunity to make sure that you're sourcing it correctly. I think that the events are a little harder in terms of like, what are we doing? I don't know that if we're saying like, these are your main goals, is that we need to like figure out how to have compostable plates at the events. I don't know if personally that is elevated to the level of like the goals for the next 2 years. I think it could be, again, open to being wrong, or not wrong, but different opinions. So, Sarah, do you you want to keep going or?
Yeah, I can keep going, and I think you already kind of touched on it. We did do some work to try to fold sustainability specifics around sustainability more in some other components of the framework. So we'll definitely continue talking about it in that realm. So let me keep going. So the second kind of big piece of this framework is the actions. How will we act on these goals that eventually will be included in the plan? So you'll recall previously in September at our workshop, we had kind of a long bulleted list of focused actions, and they weren't necessarily very specific. They weren't even very focused, I would probably say, based on the conversation we had. And they were also, I would say, more goal-like in a lot of ways, like very similar to the goals that we had discussed as well. So through that discussion, you all kind of landed on this idea that maybe we focus on 3 kind of buckets or categories instead. The categories we discussed in September were project opportunities, funding, and public engagement. So we went ahead and started running with that feedback. So this first focused action for project opportunities, the specific action is maintain a dynamic list of public art opportunities that can be implemented as resources allow. And the list should really reflect the preferred locations for pursuing public art projects, locally significant events, locations, or other details that can be highlighted, capital projects that are eligible or strong candidates for using 1% funds, and then projects that are proposed by the Arts Council, community groups, and island residents. Of course, we are going to talk more about the project opportunities list tonight, so I would say we're already kind of running with this focused action, but I did want to get some feedback from you all on these. And actually thinking about it, it's probably best to run through all 3 since they are kind of a different format than what we've originally proposed, and then we can open it up for discussion. So the second action related to funding, identify new funding strategies to support public art on Mercer Island. The plan should track local, state, and federal grant opportunities for public art, forecast the 1% fund contributions and expenditures, and update the forecasts we're proposing on a biennial basis. aligned with the city's capital improvement program, which, as you know, is the primary revenue source for the 1% fund, and consider opportunities for soliciting private donations, sponsorships, and other outside funding from individuals and organizations. And then public engagement, the specific action, engage the community throughout the public art process. And we've identified some methods, not all encompassing, of course, but collaborate with community organizations to develop public art projects, solicit project ideas from island residents, and activate public art sites with events, gatherings, and other opportunities. So I will pause there again and open up for discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
I really like how this lays out. I think the one piece that maybe is missing is tying the three actions together. I think they all feed off of each other. And, you know, if we can align funding and enthusiasm through the public engagement piece, then it helps us as an arts council kind of help prioritize what's important and where we want to put our resources. So I think some sort of closing statement to tie the three actions together would be good.
Anyone else? Nothing? Suzanne? I thought these were great. I don't really have any substantive feedback other than thank you, Sarah, for putting this together.
I'll comment. I think they're really great. And then the next thing that comes to my mind is, how do we make the action? I mean, Sarah, is this going to then be budgeted time and dollar wise? Because I'd love it, what you've developed here, but how do we put it into action?
Mm-hmm. So that's a good question. So what I have started doing, or what we have staff have started doing outside of these working sessions with you all to develop the plan, is to actually start drafting the plan. So the way this has started to kind of unfold in practice is that each category, I would say, is effectively a section of the plan, in the sense that it really it captures all of this information. It captures all of the funding sources. It captures all of, you know, the known, anticipated, and, you know, out year opportunities in terms of funding from the CIP, all outlined and all sort of with the guidance of regularly updating it through staff who will be responsible for tracking the 1% fund and in the way that we already do. Other things like, you know, outside sources, individual donors, individual contributions, other things like grants and, you know, methods like crowdsource funding and sponsorships and those sorts of things. Those are going to look more like kind of a compilation of what exists currently. And, you know, there will be specific guidance for how to continue identifying those opportunities. Same with public engagement. So I envision that, you know, there would be kind of these different buckets. How do we solicit for ideas from island residents and community groups? We already started talking about that a little bit in September. Kind of really general guidance for how to think about especially public engagement and funding as projects kind of evolve. And then really where I think it's going to come down to kind of funding and specific funding, specific public engagement methods is really going to tie back to that project opportunities list. So, you know, the project opportunities list will, there's kind of going to be two parts of it, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but we'll talk more about this. You'll have kind of your running list, so that dynamic list of opportunities that have been identified by the Arts Council, by staff, contributed by the community. really just a running list so we truly can, know what has been proposed in the past, what is of interest to the community and the Arts Council, and ones that we can kind of adjust or work into the schedule as we know the resources allow. Then those project opportunities will get kind of whittled down, or not whittled down, but refined and prioritized into what I imagine is something that will look somewhat similar to the current CIP process that the city goes through as part of the biennial budget process. So, we'll have our 6-year project timeline. The first 2 years will be the most, upcoming biennium, and those projects will effectively be, close to confirmed. There's likely going to be approval processes and those sorts of things that we'll have to go through. But that'll be like, okay, we want to do a street name inlays project in 2026. So it'll go in the project for that biennium. And similar to how we as staff work through the CIP every 2 years, we know that in 25, 26, these are our projects to work with you on for the public art program. So that's kind of a high level about how things will get implemented, how resources might be assigned. Of course, if this process doesn't work for you all, we can totally talk more about that and try to identify a different process. But I'm really envisioning that, this will be kind of a sequential, like ongoing, every couple of years, we get back together and look at the out years that were identified in the public art plan and decide, okay, are these projects that we identified for 27 and 28 still the projects that we feel we should pursue? If so, then yes, we're going to refine what the resource request is, what the need is, what the public engagement strategy is for each of those ahead of that biennium. And then once the biennium rolls around, then we'll be able to implement on it. So that jumps ahead a bit because we are going to talk more about project opportunities. But since you asked the question, Suzanne, I thought I'd give you a little more of what I'm thinking.
I'll just raise my hand again, if that's okay.
Go
I get it, and that's very high level, which I understand. These actions focus actions seem like they would integrate really directly with the community. And I'm wondering, can we get an annual report to each of these bullet items, or can we keep up the website, like the arts part of our website, so that like just the slide that's showing right now, it would be kind of like real time. So people could say, oh, there's some energy around, I don't know, a mural at the stacks or something. And, so we can see it start moving through the system, or maybe people comment about it, or maybe they want to contact you or the organization. I mean, it's just so high level. I don't know. We're saying we really want to engage the public, but I don't see the vehicle to do that really. I mean, other than once the project is decided, yeah, then, maybe we'll have a public hearing or something like that. But like if I solicit project ideas from island residents, I mean, if you're not familiar with the system, you're probably going to go to the city website to start. And if they Google that or go to the spotlight or information, are they going to get there where they can start a conversation?
Yeah, I think what you're kind of leading towards is a Let's Talk page for the 6-year work plan. Probably, that's the Let's Talk is the tool, the engagement platform we use for
Yes.
one-off projects, but also for ongoing opportunities too.
I think that communication is good, but also I think some kind of annual report that says, here are all the ideas and here's 2 or 3 that we took action on, and this is where they are in the 1 year, 5 year, 10-year pipeline.
Well, and can I ask a follow-up to what Suzanne is saying? I mean, I'm looking at again, jumping ahead to the 25-26 2-year work plan. Like what's the connection here between the 6-year work plan and the 2-year work plan? Because I mean, tonight we're getting an update. I mean, Suzanne's saying, can we get an annual update? Like tonight we're getting an annual update on the 2-year work plan from the last 2 years, and we're defining the work plan for the upcoming 2 years. And so, I mean, should these be connected? Should these be the same? Like, I mean, that's where the update is coming from, right? Or maybe you can just explain to me like what the difference is between, I mean, I understand that roughly the difference, but I mean, to what extent should these 2 work plans be connected?
Yeah, I think to that second question of how should they be connected, my thought is that there is probably a running work plan item on the arts and culture work plan that says, implement on 6-year art and public places work plan, or implement on 6-year public art work plan. And then that, like you're saying, Vice Chair, that then as we do the kind of report out on those work plan items, you could totally incorporate the public art plan items that have been progressed, or we definitely could also do a separate annual report. I think both are viable, and both are, it never hurts to do both in order to make sure that the information's out there for the community.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily saying we need to do that. I was just trying to think through, because I mean, as I'm looking at the 2-year plan, like you talk about engagement and yeah, but that's the extent of my opinion. Ryan.
Hey,
Ryan
thank you.
Daly, Recreation Manager.
Thank
Why
you,
don't
Vice Chair. We were gonna see how long it took me to make a mistake on how I operate this system here with so many microphones. But I would say I think you have a good point, or Sarah had a good point on adding maybe a 1 sentence or something like that to the item later on tonight, the 25-26 work plan, that references back to the 6-year public art plan. So I think that'll help to tie it all together. When we look at the arts and culture work plan, primarily it's sort of operational. It's much less on the capital side, and so this might be the statement to add in there that ties it all together. So excellent idea.
Okay. Any other feedback from anyone on this topic? All right, Sarah, you can continue.
Okay, great. I think just to kind of summarize, so I'm hearing that specifically for the actions, looking at both either it's a closing statement or some other way to tie the actions themselves together, and then also being very specific about then how these actions will be put into action. So I will continue to work through that as I'm working on the draft. Okay, so the last piece of this framework is the selection criteria, and I included our 4 public art pillars diagram in here one more time, just as a reminder that these 4 higher arching categories, aesthetic, place, connection, and longevity, are tied back to some of the original discussions we've been having as part of this process. And so since September, again, we made some adjustments, specifically added in some additional criteria for aesthetic and connection. So I won't necessarily go through all 4 of these. We can talk about the 4th bullet there, the new one. So adding sustainability and the question I have here that would be included in an evaluation is resource conservation thoughtfully considered for the design and creation of the proposed project? So thoughts on this additional criterion?
Jonathan? Starts out.
Yeah, no, looks good.
Okay.
For sustainability, that any project should incorporate sustainable practices. That makes it clear that they should.
Agreed. I think it's good.
Okay. Keep moving. Nothing changed from place. So I'll just keep going. So connection is another one where we made some adjustments. We added 2 new criteria and then adjusted a third. So the first new one, collaboration. Does the proposal provide opportunities for Mercer Island residents, community groups, and others to participate in the public art process? Diversity. Will the proposed project resonate with people of diverse abilities, backgrounds, and beliefs? And then community cohesion is, oh, this is a typo. My apologies. This is obviously the same one for sustainability. So let me just stop sharing there really quickly and pull up the correct one while I have it. Bear with me for a second. Okay. Apologies on that one. The correct one is community cohesion. Will the proposal foster community dialogue and enhance community members' understanding of each other? So for connection, you may recall, I think that there were these 3, collaboration, diversity, and community cohesion were, I think, kind of pulled together in different ways. So we separated them out in an attempt to kind of drive a little more closely to all the elements you all were discussing back in September. So I'll pause there for some additional feedback on the category.
Anyone want to jump in here? I think, oh, Jonathan, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it looks great. Yeah, it's very inclusive.
I think it's great as well.
Great job, Sarah. Thank you. I think we're good.
All right, let's keep it moving. I'll share my screen again. Okay, are we back to the PowerPoint?
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. All right. Okay, so the last one, again, nothing really changed with longevity. So unless you all have any additional thoughts on this one or concerns, we can keep going to the project opportunities list.
Not seeing anything. Continue to the
Okay.
projects.
All right. So the real fun. Okay. So I started talking about this a little bit already, but the project opportunities list, I think, is really the fun part and the meat of the work plan. It is that dynamic list of opportunities that have been identified by this body that we can collectively implement as our resources allow. So, really tied to that focused action number 1. This running list will be included in the final version of the 6-year work plan. So again, what that will look like is likely the matrix, very similar matrix that was included as Exhibit 2 in your packet tonight, with all of the project opportunities identified and maintained on that list eventually will go into the plan. We propose that we will update that running list on a quarterly basis to ensure that new opportunities are documented. So really making sure that that list stays dynamic and as up to date as possible. I think staff, have done this off and on kind of internally over the years as we've gotten new ideas and heard about opportunities and propose them as, timing allows and resources allow. But I do think that really having a central list, a list that, potentially to Suzanne's point, we publish on the city website so the community can see, or on Let's Talk and engage with, I think will really help not only keep us organized and help us maintain momentum, but also really provide more of an opportunity to foster some of that enthusiasm and excitement around the public art collection. So again, the draft list that we have right now was included as Exhibit 2 in your agenda packet. And so far, the ideas have been pulled from those that have been proposed by the community and the Arts Council and city staff since 2020. Ones that are proposed by staff based on opportunities that we've also identified since that time frame. And then project ideas that you all have proposed since we last met in September. Still ample opportunity to add ideas to the list. So I'm happy to take some ideas tonight if you have them. And then the other piece that I'm really hoping to get information from you all on is how you would like to engage the community in finalizing the list that is included in, finalize that running list that is included in the work plan. Because I imagine that, this body may identify that we can have as many ideas as we want, but not all ideas may be ones that the Arts Council will ever be interested in pursuing with the city. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing that presentation and I'm just going to open it up. There's a couple of ways we can do this tonight, and I'm open to either. We can pull up the matrix that was included in your agenda packet and walk through each idea and take your feedback right now. Or we can save that process, that kind of hands-on working process for the next workshop, which we're currently scheduled to hold on November 18th. There's 18 ideas on the list right now. It may be better to walk through it all at the next workshop when we can really focus on it, knowing that you all have other items to get to tonight, but I'm of course open to that option. And then the other idea is, again, just to table that line by line discussion until the workshop where we'll really focus on those project opportunities. And right now I can just document additional ideas that you all may have. I know Suzanne sent in some ideas and Councilmember Rajagopal also sent in ideas, but I'm happy to take any others you all may be thinking of right now. And then also get your feedback on how you would like to engage the community in the list. So Vice Chair, I'll turn it over to you to give direction on how best you all would like to continue the conversation tonight.
Yeah, can I just ask, I'd like to ask a logistical question before we answer the question. So when you say finalize the list, is that, we're not finalizing it, I assume, and that like we can't add anything more. Am I understanding that you're suggesting we could potentially remove some of them as saying we don't want? So we have to decide if we want to remove any before we create the published draft list. That's what you mean by finalize?
Yeah, so my thought process is at some point we got to get the list to a final point that is included in this first iteration of the 6-year work plan. So it'll evolve. Obviously, every quarter we'll come back and bring new ideas and add them to the list as the Arts Council wants to. But I think a first pass on the list, whether it's tonight or in the future with more ideas, And if anything seems incredibly off base to the Arts Council, we want to take that off the list if it's not something we're ever going to consider doing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, personally, what I would suggest we do is not go line by line through all of these. If we're considering, if there's more items that you're saying you already have by email, and we're like, I think that we would be better served going line by line when we have most of the items that we're gonna have. If
Mhm.
anybody objects to that, we certainly can go line by line. I guess I would suggest opening it up if anyone has any like specific questions or clarifications on any of these items that they don't know about. I think that would be sort of a good starting point. I mean, if we want to propose more here, they can. I guess people could also continue emailing you ideas before we get like the full, whatever date it is that we're going to go through the whole draft. I would encourage everybody to get them in advance so we have time to review them before we go line by line. That's my opinion. But I certainly think if anybody has, does anybody object to that as a plan for today? But if anybody has questions about any of the 18 items that are here, I think now seems like a good opportunity to bring those up.
I have a question. With the 18 items that are there and more to come, could they be put into a matrix that evaluates them? Maybe not like by numbers or really nitty gritty, but just say maybe thoughts. Like I think I recall something about okay, let's say there was a high school mural kind of thing. And one of the things that came to my mind was our criteria for artwork is, quality, sustainable, it has to be, it has to last and whatever. I mean, to me, most of our artwork, I believe, unless it's just a temporary, like the lanterns or whatever, has to be produced professionally. It might be like we did in Luther Burbank, where we solicited ideas from the public, and then the artists brought them to life with the medallions. But so anyway, can the master list be sort of discussed a little bit against the criteria that we have developed? That also, I think that might help us kind of learn about the process that we're creating. I don't know if that any of that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I am happy to take a stab at mapping all these ideas out as they would potentially fall against the criteria. And, probably it would probably be just a like yes or no high level, or maybe a little
this
bit.
is not possible because
Not possible.
we don't own the land, or we'd have to clear it with the State Department of Transportation because the smokestacks belong to them. Just kind of get those placeholders in there, and maybe even alternatives. Like one of the proposals was the amphitheater in Luther Burbank Park. So maybe just kind of really high level, like we'd have to maybe consider parking and competitive events there. And maybe we want to compare it to, and I would like to add to the list, a stage, like we had the stage in Mercerdale this last summer for music. And I thought that was phenomenal. And I don't know what staff thinks, but it seemed like the turnout for the music in the park was about double or maybe triple. And I think the stage had a lot to do with it. So so if we have a idea for a stage or, an amphitheater performing summer performance item in Luther Burbank, we probably need to compare that to another similar opportunity, so that's my suggestion.
And so can I just follow up, Suzanne, on what you're saying? So are you suggesting she should like rate all of these against the criteria, or do you think we should just like, if Sarah could provide some kind of feedback where feedback exists, it would be.
I don't want to get into rating. I just think that we have developed all these criteria that maybe she could do a matrix or an evaluation thing that says, hey, yeah, this fits our criteria. This would reach out to a lot of people, or maybe she has the experience that she says, yeah, we had this event, the Autumn Festival, and it brought 3,000 people, just to sort of kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just too much, but we can't be picking, I mean, every time we select something, an art piece or an art function or an event, we're really choosing not to do something else. So I want to make sure we make the right choice, I guess.
Okay, Sarah, do you have enough guidance from what Suzanne is saying there?
Yeah, definitely. I think you summarized it well of provide feedback where feedback exists. I'm definitely able to get that going for sure.
And I have one more thing to add to the list, since get it off of mine. We have a lot of artwork in the community, and I would like to add to the list. I don't even know how to say it, like taking a critical look is if it's displayed and cared, like not just maintained, but like you had
Curation.
yeah, you had Primavera there. I mean, does it need repainting? How many people are aware it's even there? Does it need to be lighted? Does it need to have the ivy removed from the base of it and have gravel around it? I mean, I'm not saying I know what to do, but I think it's a pretty cool piece. And I think probably 9 out of 10 people drive by it every day and have never seen it. So I think we're missing an opportunity that is low hanging fruit.
Jonathan, do you have a?
Yeah, so, the suggestion I'm most excited about is the first one put forward by Counselor Scone. Anything to do with Greta Hackett Park, they could show and like link them all together. Like, for instance, number 14, there's the art walk suggestion from Ann Hertze. They all have, anything have to do with Greta Hackett, we could just put under Greta Hackett, and so we see all the different linkages that are related to that particular location.
Okay, it's a great idea. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think a part of this discussion, or we've talked a lot about kind of process, but I think that's really what we want to kind of iron out over this meeting and next and probably the following. The way that I envision this being used is kind of put it out there into the community and see what gets the excitement. And to me, that's what we should be prioritizing. And so how do we do that? I think the Let's Talk program or aspect of it is a good piece to do that. I also to kind of look at this list and understand how to bring the best ideas or the most enthusiastic ideas to the top. Kind of just throwing ideas out there, but council members come prepared to nominate or endorse certain projects and champion them and advocate for them. I think putting a little bit more intention behind how we use this list and then if it does rise to the top and there's consensus amongst the group, then there becomes a real strategic conversation about, okay, how do we secure the funding for it? And then it feeds into the process that I think Sarah outlined, going through the procurement process and the community engagement piece and so on. But trying to figure out how we use this list
Yeah.
is I think really where we need to focus today. And then, going through the list is probably down the road type thing. But I'm happy to see that we have a list now. It's great.
I mean, the sense that I get, and Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, is that like we're creating a list now. We don't, I mean, because part of me thinks like, yes, I agree. Like whenever we're picking something and how do we narrow this down to,
Mhm.
1 or 2 or 5 items or whatever that we're really focusing our efforts on, everybody could vote and pick, 3 or 4 items that they like, and then we could figure out which one got the most votes. And those are the ones that we talk about and don't talk about the ones that don't get any votes. But, or something, I mean, that's a system. So we come up with 10 different systems, but something like that to figure out how we pick the ones at the top. But I get a sense that we're not picking them which ones are at the top yet, because there's no funding, right? So, I mean, the goal with this list is to have something available so that when we get more money for projects, that we have a basis to choose from. Is that, Sarah, is that the purpose of this, basically?
Right. So yes, I think I see the list. I see kind of it's serving both purposes that you and Councilmember Gibson have talked about. So in my mind, we have a running list of projects that have been proposed that, you know, potentially have been preliminarily evaluated by staff against the criteria that you all have identified. But we have that list. But then to get to implementable projects, knowing that or excuse me, projects that the Arts Council wants to pursue, knowing that there's a finite amount of resources, there's only so much work we can get done in a biennium. That's where I think this kind of nomination voting process comes in. So, you know, both lists exist together. One list is dynamic, it's constantly added to, things are shifted around. One list is agreed upon by this body every year, every 2 years, depending on, you know, what cycle you want to go on. I think it probably is best to try to align it with the biennium, because with planning for the biennium, because that's the best opportunity we have to get resources into, you know, secure resources into the capital program and to the city budget. But that's your refined list of, okay, now we know we're going to do Greta Hackett, we know we're going to do street name inlays, and we know we're going to do a mural on the lid. Now let's run with it. Okay, we know mural on the lid is a really community oriented project. That's why we picked it. So we're going to focus efforts around community-based art making, community fundraising. Those are strategies we're going to use for that project. We know that Greta Hackett is technically a public a park space. So are there resources within the actual capital fund that can support, you know, planning and redevelopment of that park? Are there community partners like the chamber and other organizations that we can tap into to help us develop that park? So that's where my mind is going with this. I think there's value in having the ongoing list for sure. But I agree that, you know, there's only so much we can do. There's only so much time, energy, and funding. And if we want to be successful, we really need to focus our efforts on, you know, three projects per biennium, knowing too that projects will span biennia, you know, like case in point, the medallions. We started working on that project honestly in earnest in 2022, and it's carrying over into the next biennium through construction. So that's how my mind puts all those pieces together. Does that make sense and sound
Yep, makes
like
sense.
something you all want? Okay.
Yeah, and what I really like about how this is kind of shaking out here is that it gives the opportunity for a good idea to get thrown on the board. And if it really, there's a groundswell of enthusiasm around it, then we can bump it up the list, and there's a process for that. And so I kind of like how we're coalescing around what that process looks like.
Do you have a question you wanted to jump in?
Well, yeah, I guess some observations looking at the list. There was an idea that was raised a long time ago that I'm not sure with whom I shared it at the city, so it might not have made the list, but the idea of the new roundabout at North Mercer Way and 77th, the center of that circle is a space that would be great for a large sculpture, something like the Primavera that looks different from every angle, because people are literally going to be looking at that circle from every angle as they go around the circle. I also want to channel Chair Mitchell for a moment. That I don't see any performing arts items on the list, and I think that there are opportunities for both doing something large like funding the props, costumes, and equipment for a play or a ballet or some such event, but also something small like at these Arts Council meetings. Why not start it off with a 5-minute recital from someone who has signed up to perform and see if there are people from the high school or from local piano teachers, or well, hard to get a piano in here, but so local music teachers that would like to have a space to give their students a chance to perform, not for an hour, but just for a few minutes. And I'm not sure how much funding that would need, if any, but it's just creating a sign up list would be kind of fun. The other thing I had on here was just, actually, I think I covered it essentially, the idea of trying to make sure that there's a mixture of the physical art and the performing art.
It'd be a good way to get more attendance to our Arts Council meetings and some more viewership.
There you
Yeah. So Sarah, another logistical question. So assuming we don't go through the entire list today, we're going to solicit more feedback. You have the question of how do we get feedback from community members? When would we tentatively come back to this at you're saying for the workshop to review this list? Is that the November 18th meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
So
And because
yes.
follow up, because assuming that's the date, let's say it's a month from now, because it sounds like maybe it is. I mean, I think that from a feedback standpoint, like, I think we want to get as much feedback as we can before that meeting. I mean, if we finalize this in January and something new comes in between November and January, we can consider it. But if we're going to go through the list, it would be most effective if we could go through most of the list and you can provide feedback like what Suzanne was saying earlier, and we can look at it all together and compare them against each other. So from a community outreach, if we want to get this out there, we should say like we really want feedback by that date or whatever, so that people know.
Mhm.
I don't know, can we, I don't know if we can get it in the MI Weekly or like, how else we can tell people to do this, but like, if we have that date, I mean, personally, I'd like to see it before that meeting. Most of the responses that we can get.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I think what that can look like is putting the current list out on the city website, the Arts and Culture website, and then promoting it out through there so community members can look at the list, but then also can reach out to me and Katie to provide additional feedback. And we can certainly promote it through the weekly and do other promotions similar to how we do other kind of not internal, but city-driven community engagement like this. So definitely through social media, we can do posters and A-frame signs in some of our parks, maybe even put some things around some of the public art pieces that I know get the most kind of engagement or activity around them, like the dragon and some other pieces. So I'm happy to work with Katie and work with Mason, our communications manager, to get those pieces out there. And we can also if we're worried, I mean, I guess we have a month, we can see how much feedback we get between now and November 18th. And then on November 18th, if we decide that it wasn't enough feedback, we can adjust and figure out the next steps for getting more community input, both new ideas from the community and feedback on the ideas that have already been compiled.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, the reason I say that is just because we talk about, community engagement, like every meeting, we're talking about community engagement and the decision, that you're making about whether we'll have enough engagement. Hopefully Chair Mitchell will be back by then, and then she can steward us through deciding whether we've gotten enough engagement or not. But I think that trying to get the engagement is important.
Great.
just jump in and say, I think JB's idea of pitch your project could be fun for the community to encourage them to participate. Say, here's the projects that have been proposed. You know, what's your pitch on which one would you support and or which other ones would you come up with? And I'm also hoping that, and I don't know how you do it, but I hope that people will even be critical, like that's a bad idea because, you know, for whatever reason, because we want to know any fatal flaws now, not later, you know. So I think putting it out there and getting their enthusiasm or lack of enthusiasm or negative read on what we have so far and other ones to come along, I think it's well worthwhile.
Great. Okay. Terrific. Okay.
Anyone else have any feedback or questions? Not seeing anything.
All right. Well, that's all for me then. I will see you all on November 18th, but I will definitely follow up probably by Friday, either Friday or Monday of next week, just to give you all an update on the plans for getting more community input on the list, and reminder to send more ideas if you have them. So at this point, the list can't be too long in my eyes, knowing that we will refine it. So thank you all again for your time tonight and your continued engagement in this process. I know that it can be a little tedious at times, but I think that we're making really good progress, and I'm excited about the next conversation. So enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks,
Thank
Sarah. Have a
you.
great night.
Really
Mm.
appreciate it.
All right. And with that, we're going to just move along to our fifth item of regular business tonight, which is the 2023-24 City Arts and Culture Work Plan Update, Q4 2024. For that, we are bringing back Katie Herzog.
Great, thank you. So no presentation tonight on this item. We've provided you the update on the 23-24 work plan in your packet. We feel that, you know, we've made some great progress over the past couple of years, and we will continue to work through the end of the year on those items. I just want to call out a few to highlight. We engaged in many partnerships to expand activities on the island, from MyVol galleries and art classes to the Mercer Island Chinese Association, both Lunar New Year and Mid-Autumn Festival. We partnered with the school district's Black Student Union to put on the Juneteenth event, and MI Pride to put on Pride in the Park. We've implemented a special event sponsorship policy, which reduced barriers for organizations to host public events in our parks. And of course, the work that you've all started on your Art in Public Places 6-year spending plan is especially good to note over our past 2 years work plan. We will give a final comprehensive update during our 2024 annual report at a future meeting. But if you have any questions, we're happy to take them, but really just wanted to provide that to you tonight.
Questions? Yeah.
It's great to see how the long bullet lists of all of the partnerships and different things that we're doing. I think it would be good to kind of get a sense of how the participation's been, both high and low, and kind of see what's working, what's not working, and that'd be interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a really good feedback that we could include maybe in our final report when we bring that back, so you can see. You know, for example, we have felt that our numbers have really grown at our summer events, but to really, you know, see those numbers, especially compared year to year, I think that's a really good feedback for us to include.
Any other questions? I agree. I thought it was very detailed. Great to read all the things that the city's been doing. Okay, well, if there's no other comments on that one, we will move on to our last item of regular business tonight, which is the 2025 and 26 City Arts and Culture Work Plan. And I will let Katie continue here.
Great. We will put the proposed objectives up on the screen. But we are seeking endorsement tonight of those 25-26 city arts and culture, the whole work plan, which includes both the priorities that the Arts Council has already endorsed and the new objectives that you are seeing in this week's packet. We, of course, will take any suggestions or edits on the objectives. And if you do seek to endorse tonight, we will go that way as well.
I'd say.
Katie, I'll just highlight one. Oh, that is really small on your guys' screen. Getting better. You can't really see the whole thing. So if you have areas you would like to provide input, just call out the number and I can scroll to it. I did add 2.4 here based off of the previous conversation. I think I captured what we were looking for. One of the things when Katie and I started developing these objectives was to try to be a little bit more specific on what the outcome was going to be so that we could refer back at the end of the year and know what that was. We also added in, similar to if you watched the city council meeting last night, our overall staff work plans start to have the quarter and year of completion that we anticipate. So on many of these items, we tried to add that as well, which helps with our planning also, and potentially some impacts to the Arts Council for, you know, meeting scheduling and things of that nature. So.
Okay. Comments, yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my one recommendation, was to add the 6-year work plan reference. I think you have the art project opportunities list, but I think that's one of the 3 kind of action items that we wanted to incorporate. So the community outreach action items that we just talked about with posting, you know, trying to solicit feedback at events and online and so on. And then I think there's a specific action item around honing in on where our funding is going to come from and what grant opportunities we have and so on. So I think there's some specificity there too.
Okay. Ryan, you're just copying the 3 things in from the other list. Is that what you're done? Okay. Anyone have other comments or feedback? And again, just to be clear, the goals that we're going to vote on this and basically endorse this as official, like this is a plan for the next 2 years. So obviously things can change if something's totally wrong, but now is the best time to bring it up if you have changes.
I think the statement about diversity, equity, inclusion is a welcoming statement. That's what I think we really need, and it's great to have it there.
Anyone else? I mean, I don't personally have any edits to this. I thought this is good. As with all the other ones, thank you to the staff for putting this all together. No? All right. Not seeing anything, so we're gonna move this along. You're gonna have one last chance in a second if you think of anything here, but councilors, may I have a motion to endorse the 2025-2026 Arts and Culture Work Plan?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion by Councilor Gibson and a second by Councilor Harrington. Councilors, your last chance for any comments before we go to a vote, if anyone has anything. Not seeing any. Councilors, please turn on your microphones, and will city staff please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chair Mitchell, Councillor Rajagopal, Vice Chair Becker,
Approve.
Councillor Gibson,
Approve.
Councillor Young, Councillor Harrington,
Approve.
Councillor Scone.
Approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
All right, the motion passes. We will move on towards the end of our meeting to other business and absences. Councilors, does anyone have a planned absence for our next special meeting, which is now scheduled on November 18th? Not Seeing anything? Oh, okay, counselors, may I have a motion to excuse Chair Mitchell and Counselor Yoon's absences from tonight's meeting? This is am I doing this correctly? What?
Yeah, will you just add Irene in there as well? So as part of our
Oh,
bylaws,
sorry, yes.
we are excusing the absences, which
Yeah, yeah.
is part of our bylaws.
Got it. Sorry. All right. I'm going to say this again. Counselors, may I have a motion to excuse Chair Mitchell, Counselor Yoon, and Counselor Rajagopal's absences from tonight's meetings?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion by Counselor Gibson and a second by Counselor Harrington. Counselors, does anyone have any comments for discussion before we vote? All right, we will move on. Counselors, please turn on your microphones and will staff conduct a vote, roll call vote.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Counselor Gibson,
Approve.
Counselor Harrington,
Approve.
Counselor Schoen,
Approve.
Chair Mitchell, Counselor Rajagopal, Counselor Young, Vice Chair Becker.
Approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
All right, there being no other business to come before the Arts Council, the time is now 6:56 PM and the meeting is adjourned. Counselors, please stay seated until city staff has terminated the Zoom broadcast. Good evening and thank you all for joining us.